Oh boy. Hey, it's Coach. How you doing, Coach Tony?
Val, the voice. How you doing today, girl?
Oh, I'm feeling fine. I left Texas before I got drowned.
Yeah, you did. I thought I got to send you one of those life preservers or something.
Who wants that? Oh my gosh. Well, guys, it's time to get started. Let's go. All right. We are back in effect with Talk on Tuesdays. Yes, and we
Yeah.
have our guest host filling in. It was so good last week he had to come on back. Coach
Hey,
Tony.
you know what they say, Val. You don't get it the first time. Try again.
Oh my gosh. I was just listening to that Aaliyah song and I was just getting some kind of epiphany like I failed in some things, but all I have to do is just try again. It's no big
Yeah.
deal. Try again.
Work it out. And I love Leah. Leah's that girl. You know that.
I know, I know. Well, guys, welcome to Talk on Tuesday. We are streaming every Tuesday on our YouTube channel, our Facebook private group fan base. Thank you, fans. And of course, we have Coach Tony filling in for the vacationing Mr. Wamble. Never missed an episode. We are there, Facebook, and now we're live on Pod TV's Roku channel. That's wonderful. Never miss an episode. Also, if you'd like to be a sponsor on our show or our platform, book time with us. And we're celebrating 100 episodes of Interludes. Our audio podcast premieres every single Wednesday. Woo-hoo. And then also support our Riddles Clean comedy virtual show featuring Mr. Wamble, Val the Voice. Yeah, that would be me. Also, Donald Owens Jr. and their host, Jury O'Neill. Get your on demand tickets here. And Mr. Springer, we see you in the chat.
What's up,
Welcome.
Cass?
Welcome. Yeah, what's up? Kevin, he's here. Go ahead and check us out. Oh my gosh. So, of course, I've done all my business. Yeah, let me go back to it. You know what? I didn't know this. I did a little research, but it is National Black Business Month in August. I didn't know that. Did you know anything about National Black Business Month, Coach?
Val, that's one thing I love about hanging out with you because I didn't know that either.
I know. And I was thinking with black businesses, it's it's important to support because the times and economic times. I was in Houston this past weekend, so H Town,
There you
and
go on the back.
I was there supporting my very lovely and very pregnant first cousin, sister cousin. That's my
That's
girl
beautiful.
Felicia.
I like that picture too. I love those balloons, Val.
I know. They did a wonderful thing. Let me see who's checking in. I see it is Joanne. Hello, darling. Welcome,
Hello, Miss
welcome.
Joanne.
If you are here, go ahead and check in with the chat. And Bruce is a fan of ours. Thank you so
Bruce,
much for
Bruce.
all your support. There you go.
That's my guy.
He's, I love Bruce. But anyway, and of course, yeah, Mr. Springer. Yeah, what up, y'all? What up? How you doing there? Brooklyn represent. Where
In the
Brooklyn at?
house. Is Brooklyn in the house? Right. Stay right.
Yes, but we had a wonderful time. We did champagne and pink balloons. She already knows she's having a girl, so that's really exciting. I have some family
Okay.
probably watching from Omaha and Houston. How you guys doing? And so invited me over along with her sister. Her sister did all the planning for this, but Felicia introduced us to a black owned restaurant called Kiss, and they call it Vibe Dining. Oh my gosh. Tony, this is a picture taken outside, and that's Felicia on the end. one of her longtime friends from high school, Tiffany, and then another Valarie, the girl in the braids. With I thought it was hilarious that she was good friends with Valarie, and then also, oh my gosh, I think her name is Jen, and she has a wonderful son named Dylan. He's on the other end there,
Yeah, I
and
see him
so
tucked in the corner.
exactly. So all of these young ladies went to TSU, Tennessee State University.
Big blue. Hey, see him representing that big blue color tonight. Got them all.
You represent. I see you. Oh
Represent
my
the big blue
gosh.
tonight. The aristocratic bands.
Tennessee State. So I had the chicken and waffles. So they were yum yum. My next door neighbor, I think Valarie, I think she had a watermelon cooler. They had a full bar, but oh my gosh, I forgot to upload this. There was, I got to tell you this, Coach, you would have loved the vibe of this restaurant. They had a
I like the
live
video.
DJ.
I like the ambiance already. I mean, it's crazy.
I know, and it had like black and gold tones, but they had a live DJ and a live saxophone player. Coach, I thought it was a remix on the music that I heard. I'm thinking, was there a jazz version of this Tevin Campbell? Can we talk? I mean, I was really vibing with that, but yeah, that was it was an experience. And then it was like a day party because the host came around and was, rapping with us and singing whatever music would come on. And then they did like a bus stop. There's always some kind of line dance that
They
I'm
know
not familiar
somebody.
with.
Well, they got a two-step down. You should have seen Megan Thee Stallion pop up somewhere.
I didn't I didn't see her, but guess who I heard often on the radio, no matter what I listen to, Sirius XM or satellite or regular radio. Guess who I just kept hearing?
Let me hear this. Let me hear this.
Beyonce.
Oh yeah. She hold H Town down. That's
I
Beyonce's
forgot
back door.
I forgot
Can
that's
you
her
break my
hometown.
heart? Especially the new house track. I love it. I know people
Yeah.
talking about. I love it, but that's nice.
I have to tell you there, and what's his name? Kevin is hilarious. Brooklyn is definitely in the house. Have you guys heard there is a well, it's off of the Renaissance. I think it's off of Renaissance, but I'm not sure. But she remade a song from the Isley Brothers that they kept playing, and it's not "You're All I Need." I think it's "Make Me Say It Again." That
Yeah,
song from the Isley Brothers.
maybe say it again. Yeah, that's the jam.
Right. So she blends her voice with Ron, and sometimes you hear Ron, sometimes you hear her, and it's kind of like a back and forth. She did it was a really nice job that was done with this song a long time ago called from Justin Timberlake and her.
Timberlake. Right,
Yeah, exactly. The love is all I had in my
right.
life in end of time. So I really like that song, but they kept playing that remake, and I was
Right.
trying to have an attitude, coach. I was like, "Oh, here she go,
Here she
remake
go
is
again,
coming.
one more time. Can
Here
we get
she go."
somebody else? And can we give somebody else? And they're like, Val, you in H Town. This is Beyonce world. Like 1990 Chicago was Jordan world.
You
It's
you
never
just
Beyonce.
accept it. You just accept it. You don't try to fight it. You don't try to say nothing bad. You can't say nothing bad about the girl, but her music was on often. But I really had a good time at this restaurant, and I
I
was
like that.
excited.
That's just nice. Let me ask you a question about what was
Mhm.
the party, the feel of the party? Was everybody, jamming? Were they sitting down? Were they really into it? In other words, did it feel like a baby type of event, or it was like a grown pool party that we decided to tell you what we want?
It felt like a grown people's party in the middle of the day. This would be the kind of places you would go to at night, and you could turn it into a club, because
Okay.
people got up and was dancing after they got through grubbing. They would get up and dance and start doing their thing, and I was just thinking, "Oh my gosh, this is this is blowing my mind." And then Felicia, my cousin, she loves to support Black businesses often, and we went to in the mall a place called Janine's Cakes,
Janine,
and
Janine,
wow,
eat the
and
cake, anime. Eat the cake, anime.
oh my gosh, oh my gosh. So okay, oh, here we go. Hello, Johnny. He's checking in. All
That's my
right,
guy
there
right
it
there,
is.
Johnny Pratt. He right down from you, Val. Sitting
Oh,
down in
he
the
is?
loop, down in Boogie Town in St. Louis.
Well, guys, if you have supported a black owned business, either as a restaurant or a clothing store, just put it in the chat and shout out the city. Cause I mean, it's about supporting black owned businesses. And we got some cakes. I'm telling you, I was licking my fingers and just salivating and everything. So I ate too much while I was in Houston. I'll just tell on myself like that. I ate too much.
You're supposed to do that. I was listening to something today, Val. I was driving
Mhm.
around town, and of course, you know, I got to give it up because I'm right here in Nashville, home
That's
of the
right.
hot chicken, right?
Mhm.
But I'm gonna give it up to my main man since we're getting ready to head in that Tennessee State Jackson State game coming in real soon. While I'm pimping out the TSU
Woo,
baby
woo.
blue tonight. But um, my guy on 26 in Jefferson Street, just across from Tennessee State University, none other than my guy, Mr. Darren Morgan. He has a place called Seafood Sensation. And Val, what I like about it is that you get the lobster tails, you get the crab legs, the chicken wings, and he's got a tremendous, got this corn. And what I really like about what Darren's done is that he's come into the city, Val, and unfortunately bought one of our beloved Steve McNair. If you remember, Steve McNair was quarterback of Tennessee Titans. Unfortunately lost his life a few years past.
Mhm.
And
Oh,
Darren bought the place. And what I like about him, he tries to work with the university and the kids because, this year, I don't know if you heard the news or not, Tennessee State University has its largest freshman class in the school's history. So,
oh, that's wonderful. Well,
so
Felicia
grown
will be happy to hear that.
Yeah, top five universities in the United States in terms of HBCU. So
Wow.
when I spoke to Mr. Morgan about what would he want to do, so we hear about these $5 meal deals, right, from
Okay.
McDonald's, and Burger
Mhm.
King. Now, he put together
Yeah.
a $6 meal deal. I'm gonna do you one better. But what I like about it, Val, is that he created a QR code for the students so that
Oh,
if they're at home, or not home, but in the dorms or whatever, and because of depending on what time of night it is, instead of the students getting out in a danger, they could log on, use the QR code, show that they're a Tennessee State University student, get a $6 meal deal, have it dropped off by Grubhub or Uber or whatever, and it's
Uber
awesome.
Eats,
So I'm
yeah.
gonna shout out my man, Seafood Sensation, Nashville, Tennessee.
All right, yeah. So I'm excited about that. I put that in the chat. Like this is good. And here Justin said, "Let's get it, TSU. Them
There you
ladies
go,
be
baby. There
going
you go. My
crazy."
TSU people falling in tonight. There you go. Yeah.
I mean, so I'm telling you, we really had a good time, and I'm very grateful that my cousin, who will be dropping this kid next month, I have to go back to Houston because we were really involved with making sure that baby shower went out without a hitch. And then my next stop will be in Charlotte and later this month. So if you know of any places that I should check out in the Charlotte area, let me know in the chat. There you go. Yeah, let me know in the chat. I'd love to know because I'm just grateful to know that there is a seafood sensation in Nashville. Get some good food or whatever. There you go.
Yeah,
uh,
that
there,
is.
there was a time when people needed to like have a guide, like a green book, to safely travel across the country, to eat safely, to stay in a hotel, see a new place. And you know what? It wouldn't be a bad idea to have a guide like that when you travel, don't you think, Coach?
Oh yeah, yeah. That'd be. I would love to have something like that because I'm for one on the road quite a bit, whether I'm with
Oh,
the
there you go.
team or in the
Mm-hmm.
summertime. And what do I use, Val? I use the Waze. When I get to a certain location, you can push in
Mm-hmm.
food and it tells you the stops and the exits along the way. And so, I was amazed. But that's what I use. So to have something like this, to know, and I'm gonna give you one more. I got to give us because I get on the road sometime just to drive south, going to Atlanta, and you're gonna know this spot, Val, when I say it. But our beloved Chicago's own J and J's is down in Atlanta, Georgia now, Val. So I'm loving
Wow.
life.
That's wonderful. Yeah, it's
What
good to
my
represent Chicago in a different city, although because we now are calling Atlanta Black Hollywood. But more on the subject very soon. I on a travel guide. I'm going to try to do something for Chicago, but details down the road. Details down the road. But every place is so different. I had a ball in Houston, but meanwhile over in Dallas, Coach, the same state there in Texas, there were flash floods, heavy rain, and cars being swept away. Our hearts go out to our friends in Dallas and unfortunately in Louisiana who were weathered by the deadly flooding that happened over the weekend. So please be safe. Travel safe. I'm just saying. Speaking of moving around, I was moving around Netflix. I might have mentioned it a couple of weeks ago, but I want to go back to it. There is a wonderful documentary on called Who We Are, a Chronicle of Racism in America. This is currently on Netflix. Have you heard of it?
Yeah, one of my
Coach?
buddies actually. I was playing golf with a group of buddies of mine last weekend, and one of the older gentlemen was a little fired up about it. I hadn't seen it, but trust me, I got an earful on the golf course last week.
Jeffrey Robinson is a civil rights attorney, I believe Yale educated, and he literally does like a TED talk, like a breakdown of the timeline of pain and how we have survived racism. And this is the type I had to watch this documentary. It's two hours and some change, but I had to watch it in parts because it just angered me with some of the statistics that came out. And he interviewed some really key people. Right here is Gwen Carr, and this is the mother of Eric Garner. So he goes into
Oh,
that
okay.
story. And then he talks about, of course, Black Wall Street. And since we mentioned this,
Yeah.
and this is a fact that I did not know. He talked about the start of the Electoral College and how it's based in white supremacy. And I'm thinking, how is that based? And then he goes into detail about how things were written in the Constitution that I never paid attention to. But the voting is what's very important. And I think I'm mentioning voting because I think in a couple of states, Florida, as well as my former home state of New York, you guys are voting in the primaries. Probably things are closed up. So hopefully you all have voted for who you needed to. But
Right.
in the state of Louisiana in 1896, there were over 130,000 voters. And because of a law that was passed that he goes into detail about in 2 years, and whoever they elected in president, they dropped that number, dropped all the way down to 5,300 people. So this was
Wow.
pretty. There's some very significant things that were talked about, and this is one of the main thing I wanted to mention. I now, what does that badge look like to you, Coach?
If it's a couple of things. If I was back in the old days or in the deep south, it was like a sheriff badge, an old sheriff badge.
Right. Well, it is a 1859 slave patrol badge, and this was to make sure that if you ran away, we got you, and we had the
Wow.
license to go and get you. Of
Early days of the police department, right?
Exactly. So it was kind of the basis of the police department and policing around the country, and it goes back to white supremacy, and it goes back to the Constitution. It was just weird how he was making all of these connections, and I was just thinking, oh, a quote that I got from him that really stood out to me because he was talking about we had just went talked to Gwen Carr, the mother of Eric Garner, talked to
Right.
other mothers and relatives of people that lost their family members to brutality of police. So the next time, and he says this to the audience, so the next time you're wondering why there's such animosity in the Black community when it comes to policing, why there is such concern, because it's in our DNA. It's called the fear of the badge and what it meant back then and now. And it's
Wow.
just really frightening, extremely frightening of what that is. And this is a picture that really stood out to me. This is uh, store owners from Greenwood Avenue, and you know where that is, Tulsa,
Oh, yeah.
Oklahoma, during
Mm-hmm.
Black Wall
Like
Street.
Wall Street.
So,
Yeah.
yeah. So if you Kevin, thank you so much for go ahead and putting that in the chat. If you guys want more information about the documentary, and to me, everyone needs to watch it. It's not just a black thing. Who We Are: A Chronicle of Racism in America. You just got to brace yourself for the things that that you'll be hearing about. And I wanted to bring this up very quickly. There was earlier tonight, according to Ben Crump, former Louisville Metro Police Department officer Kelly Goodlett
Good.
has
Yeah.
has pleaded guilty to a charge of conspiracy for helping to falsify the search warrant in the deadly no-knock raid that killed Breonna Taylor. So I thought I would end with that. Just what are your thoughts on just all I shared? I know I kind of went in a different direction here, but
No,
just
no,
wanted
no. I mean,
to get
I
your eyes
think
on
that,
that.
and I'm gonna work from backwards to back to your point on the Breonna Taylor thing. I think
Mhm.
that it brings to light the things that you mentioned earlier regarding from Black Wall Street, what our forefathers and grandparents had to go through in the 1800s. And that's ironic that you say that. Just look at the things when we talk about music, right? We go back
Mhm.
from when Little Richard had music taken from him, and he calls himself the rock and roll all star because he created rock and roll, and then they gave it to Elvis Presley. Go back from the James Brown days, go back to the bigger black bands we had, and they gave them to white bands, so forth and so on, and then move forward to when music changed threshold. As I was coming through school, and we listened to people like Chuck D and Public Enemy that was forced out or tried to be forced out by the FBI and the police department for the things they were saying. And then all of a sudden, boom, the explosion happened on the West Coast with Ice Cube and NWA. And that was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
We were still talking about the same thing 30 years later. No
Yeah.
different than when I was coming through college. My dad, uncles, and all that was telling us this was the same thing they experienced and when they were in college in early 70s, late 60s.
Yeah.
So, eventually, I hope that, the Dr. Martin Luther King speech is I have a dream. One day we'll get there. And I think that what happened is that social media is getting us there. But the
Mhm.
problem with social media is that it gets to be lopsided sometimes. And when you're
Right.
looking at the things that, our forefathers and grandmothers and so forth and so on has gone through,
Mhm.
we continue to ask for forgiveness. Things continue to happen in our neighborhoods, right? Continue to happen in our
Mhm.
community. Um, I was really shocked, just for a curveball. Did you see this past weekend, a young man in Arkansas that the police put they need him and beat him in the head, and the
Yeah.
white gentleman, after he was already down, and they got fired right away. So, I think that we need to do a better job of policing the police, right? We keep talking about that. But
Well,
if we
just
just continue to put love first and respect those like we want to be respected, I think maybe we can get somewhere in this country.
and like I said, the what Jeffrey Robinson mentions in the documentary, he's like, if you're wondering why there's that animosity and fear, it's because it's in our DNA and it's in the DNA of the Constitution. And if no one's breaking the cycle of teaching that we're not three-fifths of the person, the slavery is what it was, and we don't want to change the wording and to not include. I think if more people that didn't look like you and me knew about Tulsa, Oklahoma, and how over 5,000 people were murdered, and just no one was convicted for those crimes, and people were jealous of the gains that people were going. And do you know there's a interstate running through that area of Tulsa, Oklahoma?
Yeah,
Just
and there was a group that's actually trying to fight. I don't
mhm.
know if you saw that to
Yep.
get the interstate with a state signature plaque
Mhm.
right there,
Yeah.
showing that this is where the original place was held. Even though this interstate is going across and above us, and I think that's awesome because
Yeah.
I give you a perfect example. That perfect
Mhm.
example. I was home my birthday weekend for basketball, right? And I'm
Okay.
taking my young players around the city, showing them Chicago. Got to show them the South Side. I got to show them the beloved city.
It's nice
And and
Chicago.
and we talk a little bit about Cabrini Green. Well, I pull up Michigan Avenue, roll down Rush Street, and hit a left on Division, and go through Cabrini Green that doesn't exist anymore,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
Cabrini Green is absolutely gorgeous. It's a $500,000 to $1 million to $2 million homes, a park, a fire department. There's either I think Osco that's in that community, a grocery store, and people that are younger than 30 would know that that was one of the highest crime neighborhoods in the United States in the mid '80s.
Yeah,
You
it
couldn't
was.
even you could even if you were partying back on Division Street, the police had to stay on LaSalle Street, right? Because they knew you
Hmm.
if you passed up under the L track, it was over. So
Yep.
it's amazing. So if we, because you and I know that, because we lived there, we experienced that. So it's the same thing with the Tulsa situation.
Right.
You've got
And
to have something that can make the people know what was here before.
exactly. And we have constructions of highways was the first forms of gentrification of black neighborhoods.
Yep.
And what's also mentioned in also the documentary is redlining.
Yes.
He also mentioned the Housing Act, Fair Housing Act of 1968, and his family benefited from that, but they needed a white couple to buy their home
Mm.
and for them not to say anything until they moved in there. And he was thinking the trajectory of both his brother and believe he has an older sibling. There he says that I know our trajectory of our life would have been different if we had grown up somewhere else. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh. And like I said, great documentary. It's tough to watch. That's why I had to watch it in parts. And then, of course, Mark is saying a prison system is derived from slavery and the overseers. And yes,
Yeah.
has anyone seen the what was that 13th? The
13?
13th
Yeah, that was good.
Amendment from
Yeah,
Ava
13.
DuVernay.
Yeah.
So it just talks about that whole situation. And I yeah. Anyway. Woo.
Well, you got to look at it too, Val. And
Hmm.
I'm gonna make the last point of this is that's on the simple fact that what the conversation just said about the highways. Go back and look at your major cities, right? Go back and look at New
Yeah.
York. Let's go back and look at Chicago. If
Right.
people know about Chicago, we had the longest housing projects in the United States. It stretched 79 blocks, right? From down on
Mm-hmm.
Sector 13th Avenue all the way to 79th Street. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it was incredible. Look at LA, you got the Watts area, right? Compton area, Torrance. So, and you're looking at these places. I read a book years ago that talked about it was easy for the police department to police us if they knew where they were at. Take, for example, I'm right here in Nashville, Tennessee, and the counter tops that was going on with the counter sit-ins back in the 60s, right? They used to have a sign that all blacks had to be out of downtown Nashville by 4:30 in the afternoon. And when they were, they had two or three communities that were within 3 miles of downtown, literally 3 miles of downtown Nashville, that we were consented upon. We got projects that were built. At that time, they looked like they were nice homes, right? Go back to Cabrini Green, go to Low End, right? Go back to the Robert Taylor home, right? When they originally were built, it was beautiful, skyrise. But then you fast forward 10, 20, 30 years later, and then you start picking up crime, drug infested location, police brutality, police crime, picking up people of color and brown, dumping them off in these areas. And all of a sudden, those places get run down very quickly. Then when they tear them down, what do? They push the crime out in other great locations. And then the next location that they consider a low income area, that's where the people migrate to. So,
Yeah.
again, we just got to stay focused on this. We're going to make it happen.
Exactly, exactly, and sundown town.
Right.
Gosh, that's ridiculous. But anyway, we'll keep you posted because usually I don't do tough topics like racism and politics. I'm gonna hurry up and move on to something a little bit lighter. I talked. I gotta mention this. I'm gonna mention Escape TV. Has anyone, and you can tell me this in the chat, who was a Game of Thrones fan? What about you, Coach?
I wasn't really a huge Game of Thrones. I liked it, But I think because of my time in and out at the gym for practice and stuff, I didn't get a
Right.
chance to really get into it. But tell me, I mean, you got to hook me up because I keep hearing about Game of Thrones. I'm thinking I may have to watch the series.
Yeah, the entire series is on HBO Max, and if you want to get caught up, you want to get caught up. I just know that when the show ended, a lot of fans were disappointed with its ending, but
I heard.
it's based on a book series, and now they're doing the prequel series that's just got kicked off Sunday, and it was one of the most watched TV shows that debuted. It was hot, it was lit, and it came with its own fire breathers. Rah, rah.
Right. Hey,
and I,
I'm about to put you in show business, man. You did that pretty good.
I'm just saying. And I mean, and it's been, I think I think HBO Max went down because so many people were watching it. Nearly
I remember that. I
10
remember that.
million people have already viewed the first episode. 10 million. So people
Wow.
have been salivating for this prequel. And if you guys watched Game of Thrones and you loved it, I'm sorry, the House of the Dragon. I have to say it like that. House of the Dragon. That's how you pronounce it. That's how you say it. It's based on the Game of Thrones. If you watched it, put it in the chat. We want to hear from you because that was just, oh my gosh. And it was set nearly 200 years before the primary story of Game of Thrones. House of the Dragons focuses on the Targaryen family, the clan entrusted with keeping the dragons under their control, ruling in this mythical realm. Because this is not true. I've
Right.
never seen a real dragon. This family would later produce the Daenerys. Oh gosh. And the mother of the dragons. I can't pronounce anything to save my life. Thank you, Michael. I apologize for butchering that.
Right. Right.
Like Game of Thrones, it is not for kids. This is not it's on HBO Max. Just give you a heads up. But it's hard to look away. It's a spectacle. I watched the first 30 minutes of it earlier just to get a vibe of it. Just to get a vibe of it. And I oh gosh, and here's somebody coming up saying it was the most violent Game of Thrones episode I watched.
Wow.
Unbelievable amount of blood spilled in that episode. But
Wow.
10 million people watched that though.
You looking at 10 million? You're looking at 10 million people. I'm working for HBO. I'm looking at 99 cents an episode.
Yeah, but I know, and I saw the industry news about HBO starting to get rid of a lot of their movies,
They
and
had to.
and they had to, and they're going to be joining with Discovery Plus.
Oh
But
wow.
to do House of the Dragons, it's a very expensive episodes. They spend anywhere from $5 to $10 million an episode just to produce it because it's set centuries and centuries ago. And
Correct. It's like
I'm
it's
just
supposed to be
thinking,
like
wow.
it's like old mythology, Greek mythology time for it, wasn't it?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm all I know is that this is amazing that many people had their eyes watching it. So I'm so sorry. I didn't put up our look to this. So that is the House of the Dragon.
Oh
It's
my.
now coming on for the next 10 weeks for this first season of the prequel. And I definitely just wanted to pause. That is a very diverse looking cast. You guys check them out. HBO Max, The
I love.
House of the Dragon.
Oh
And hopefully it won't be so much blood. I apologize for the on behalf of everybody. And what
yeah.
was this? Also, the L tracks in Chicago were designed so white and black neighborhoods would not interconnect.
That's
Okay.
right. And that's why they run from 95th to the west side. Right? And so if
Ah,
you look at the L
redlining.
track, exactly right. So you already come in the red line, exactly right. And you got the blue line runs on the north side all the way to O'Hare. So the same thing. So it's exactly right. They name those by colors because you got to think. Look at who's the west of the west side on 90 on Hike, and then look who's on the south side of the city on the damn right.
Right, exactly. Now I'm looking for our guest. I don't see him yet.
He's been in the chat room, Val, and he said that the link that he has. Then let me see. I'm gonna pop out real quick and see if I can get him the link. I emailed it to him. I'm gonna be right back. See if I can jump on
Okay.
with it.
Yeah, we had a special guest coming in for today, but I'm glad you guys are here. Um, I'm gonna let you in on something. I never watched Game of Thrones. Did you guys watch Game of Thrones? Because I didn't watch the series. People are telling me it's phenomenal, but I haven't watched it. House of the Dragon on HBO. And a new episode premieres every single Sunday, and that should be that should be exciting. But I wanted to right now give you guys a heads up. Mr. Wamble kind of doing a taking a break or whatever, and he's just started school. Like many of you who are teachers, I have a lot of respect for you as teachers. I'm just giving you a big heads up. There is a teacher shortage, and it seems like it's kind of nationwide. And I think a lot of school boards are trying to attract professionals, people that are working in corporate America or in other fields, to come and help with teaching. A lot of the mass mandates aren't there, or they're not mandatory as they were when we were still in the midst of the throes of the pandemic. But if I'll just go ahead and encourage you all. I did teach high school for 10 years. I didn't I taught high school for 3 years, but I punked out. So that's the reason why there is so much love and respect. Who is this saying hi, Valarie Johnson? Just gonna use my full government name. What's up with that using my full government name? And I see Bruce has said, "Oh, never seen it." I haven't seen it either. And Michael, the producer, is go watch the first episode of House of the Dragon. I'm like, if I see some blood, I'm gonna run the opposite direction. Oh my gosh, Tony, I'm gonna bring you back in. Hey, Tony. Okay, he's not ready. Tony, you there?
There I am. There I'm with you, Val. I'm
Okay,
with you.
so where's our guest?
I just sent him the StreamYard link again. He said the link had said that it was had expired. So I don't know what happened with that. So I just tried to resend it to him.
Right, because the one that I sent you, because you're here, is the same one he should get, so he can be here.
Yeah. So
But I'm
I just
taking a poll. I'm taking a poll of how many people have seen the Game of Thrones. So right now, Bruce said no, he's never seen it.
so Bruce is
Mark,
like me. Bruce hang out with me. I ain't never seen it either. Man, Bruce,
and then Mark hangs out with you. He's never watched it either. So you know,
that's why Mark and Bruce are my guys.
and right, and this is funny. Mark saying it was a great movie. No, it's a series, not a movie. It's a series. Oh wait, heard it was a great movie. Bad respect for teachers. What? You mean you have respect for teachers? I think
Right.
that's what he meant to type. He meant
No,
to say,
no, Mark. Yeah,
wait
that's
a
what he
minute,
meant to say.
Mr. Springer just said that he's never seen it either.
Man, I'm telling you, I don't know what's with this Game of Thrones. My guys ain't on that.
Well, thank you so much for Mr. Springer putting that information about the 10 million folks that checked it out and stuff. So that's exciting. But okay, wonderful. I believe we now see our guest.
Thank
Coach,
you.
I'll go ahead and allow you to introduce him.
I'm going to introduce. I'm wearing my blue right before we get in, but everybody, I want you to meet my beloved cousin. And by way, I put out today by way of multiple HBCUs. So the HBCUs should be loving them in the house. The Xavier University of New Orleans grad, class of '02, Howard University Medical School. I mean, and now the cat is the sports doctor for my rivalry in a few weeks at the Heritage Classic. Mr. Deion Sanders, welcome aboard the big hand for Mr. Dr. Derek Burgess.
Yay! It's the doc. It's the doc. It's the doc.
Hey, I almost dropped Dr. Drake, the doctor. Well, it's good, cuz.
Hey, thank you for having me. And yeah, I've been chilling in this green room for about 30 minutes, but This is big cousin Tony, so this is the way it's always been.
Yeah. We like the barbershop around here, man. You don't have
Right.
to go right around here, man.
Hey, it's all good. I'm in a podcast game, so I get it. I understand.
Right. So,
Man,
coach,
I'm so glad that you made. We got a lot of people. Val, this is going to be interesting because and I forgot to mention too that my beloved cousin, Mr. Doctor, none other than a brother Cap Alpha Psi. All my brothers out there, we do it big. But you're down at Jackson State. I'm over at Tennessee State now, and we got this rivalry game coming up here in a couple of weeks in Memphis, Tennessee, of all places. And fortunately enough, since we've met 53 times, Tennessee State holds that advantage, and 28 times in the Heritage Classic, we hold that advantage. So I know the last time the Tennessee State and Jackson State got together, you guys beat us, 49-44. How do you see this Heritage game coming out in a couple of weeks? And what's Dion doing down at Jackson State that's making the university just such a beloved university all of a sudden?
I mean, it's just amazing to actually be able to witness what's going on at Jackson State, but not only Jackson State, but across HBCU sports in general. And I think that this is just a great time for the athletes to be a part of HBCU sports. And I've had the opportunity of speaking to a lot of older athletes from especially in the 70s and early 70s when similar things were going on in HBCU sports, where they were sending out first round draft picks to the NFL, each year. And that wasn't something that was just, it happens randomly. So they're happy, the new generation is happy. So it's beautiful. And I think that everybody is winning because of the exposure that's going on in Jackson State right now.
Oh yeah, I'm telling you right now, they're not only helping out football, they're helping out basketball.
Oh,
You're
absolutely.
seeing guys at the Division I level that are transferring in. How has the NIL deal with the college athletes have that helped Jackson State? And I know, with Dion primetime being there, it's helping out a lot. But I noticed that they painted the football stadium. They got a brand new weight room. Now that you have an opportunity to be part of that program, what are your insights to what's going on and how they're being so successful?
Well, it's just a blessing to be a part of it, number one. But I think with NIL, number one, what has been the history so far is that it really impacts a select few. It's usually the quarterbacks, the running backs, the receivers, the people that get their hands on the ball a lot, not necessarily the defensive players. But it does give an opportunity for people to be able to get something for their name, image, and likeness. And I think that what's going on right now is there's a lot of momentum, and you have companies coming on board with American Airlines and a lot of different bigger corporations, and it's a snowball effect. And I
Yeah.
think we're going to start to see this not only at Jackson State, but at other HBCUs as well.
Oh yeah, I'm amazed because when it's set out to be on the NIL side of the house, it normally set out to be a Power Five type thing.
Right.
If you weren't playing in one of the Power Five type schools, then you probably wasn't looked at, like you said. The American Airlines, the Southwest, Enterprise Car Rental, who hires a lot of kids coming out of college to their first jobs, and all that. And a lot of people don't know, but Dr. Derek, tell them the type of medicine that you practice in, and so forth and so on.
Yeah, so I'm an orthopedic surgeon. I specialize in sports medicine, meaning that I do a lot of procedures, arthroscopic, minimally invasive procedures that athletes incur, such as ACL reconstructions, shoulder stabilization for shoulder dislocations. Of course, we treat a lot of non-operative injuries as well, ankle sprains, cuts, bruises, fractures, concussions. We're the kind of the quarterback of the team, but sports medicine is a huge umbrella. It includes physical therapists, athletic trainers, strength and conditioning coaches. And we just happen to be kind of the head of that. But we have a lot of people that we work with to be able to deliver high care for the athletes, a high level of care for the athletes.
Well, my partner Val, the voice is gonna need you because she got a bum knee.
Now you got a bum knee.
I got a bum. All
why
right,
you put
I
me
got
on?
a.
Wait a minute, why you put me on Front Street, man? Why you doing that? I mean, We here to ask questions about, athletes. I ain't no athlete. I ain't done athletic stuff since the
Right,
yeah. Come
right.
on.
Hey, Val,
we're all athletes.
hey,
I,
Doc, I had to give Val some medicine, a couple of old school remedies, some towels on her knee, but it helped. Kind of
Hey,
strengthened that
I
knee.
wonder why he was able to give you those old school remedies, because that's what he uses on his own self.
Exactly.
exactly. I was suffering with a Baker cyst. I was
Okay.
riding my bike and it developed about 8 or 9 months ago, and I was really kind of freaked out about it, and I didn't want anyone to do any surgery on it. And people were like, the more I went to my orthopedic surgeon, and he was saying just do physical therapy for it, and
Mhm.
I followed through with the physical therapy for 6 weeks, but to continue for that Baker cyst to shrink, I was told to stay active every day. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
Well, so one of the major, and just kind of a Baker's cyst. So a Baker's cyst is usually, it's what's picked up, but it might not be the root of the problem. And the root of the
Okay.
problem can be arthritis, or it can be a meniscal problem, or just kind of wear and tear in the knee. So what he's telling you is one of the mainstays of treating arthritis or treating knee problems in general is
Mhm.
therapy or staying active. Not necessarily going out trying to run a 5K, but walking, cycling, swimming, things of that nature. So
Yeah,
staying
like
active
he
is
keeps
key.
telling me to sit down, Val. I keep on staying with it,
Now I told you to stay off the basketball court.
Yeah, and I got those little young dummies that I coach sometimes. They try me, Val. And
We
because
can,
like, hey,
you
you
can't.
better stay down. And my knee get about this big, then I'm calling him asking him what I need to do. I know my
Right.
best friend has become an ice bucket. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
I, well, this is the thing. You graduated from Howard University with your medical degree. Tell me about that experience of attending an HBCU, because a lot of people think, oh, you have to go to the white university or the national university to be considered a doctor. And I don't know where that mentality comes from, but just tell me about your experience at Howard University.
Sure. So I was, and before I went to Howard, I went to Xavier University in
Mhm.
Louisiana, which is also an HBCU. So
Right.
I've really grown up in an HBCU. I left home at 18 years old, went to
Mhm.
undergraduate, and then spent 10 years at Howard University. So
Wow.
I've been really shaped in that culture. And what it did for me is it allowed me to be myself, number one, but also for someone who doesn't necessarily check all the boxes, I was able to still be encouraged and not
Mhm.
told, hey, you can't do that. And that's really why I'm an orthopedic surgeon now. It's because I was able to connect with mentors and be able to have people who were, really invested in me succeeding. And I think that was very important. And that's why I always try to give back. And that's why it's so important having this opportunity to work with Jackson State. And I want to be able to work with other HBCUs as well, because I know the level of care that we will give our own.
Right.
And it's so important too, Val. I think we're gonna rewind that tape. What he just said, in case somebody missing like an old school DJ, rewind that tape, rewind that back. And that is, he spent 10 years. So, I try to tell some of these young guys I've got, that pound the pavement trying to make it on this basketball court, and they're still trying to get picked up, still want to get a scholarship. I don't want to play no more. I'm going to quit. I want to go overseas. Sometimes on the professional side, you can come off that fork in the road, right? And Dr. Derek went left and this guy went right. 10 years later, when we get to the reunion, we at the same fork in the road again, right? So there's many ways to get there, whether you do it
Absolutely.
academically or whether you do it sports. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be an athlete, either the ball's going to stop bouncing, the field's going to stop letting you run on it, hockey puck's going to stop getting smacked in the face, right? And
Wow.
baseball can stop getting thrown at you. So at the
Right.
end of the day, is then what did you do to put yourself in position to make sure that your next 10, 20 years are taken care of? And when you got someone like Dr. Derek that's doing that, is awesome. It's great because, like Derek, talk to him about like some of the camps that you've done and some of the athletes like the New Orleans Saints guys and the Pelican guys you work with.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I just want to mention, like you were talking about, delayed gratification. I put in 15 years post high school to get to the point where I could even start working in my career. And, the arrival fallacy of thinking that I'd arrived when I got my first job and seeing things not go the way that I want, and knowing the time that I put in, the blood, sweat, and tears, and the sacrifices. But it means a lot because I know what I had to sacrifice to get to where I am today. And I know that, I wasn't given a lot, and a lot of people didn't believe, um, and, that's the theme at Jackson State, I believe, because if you believe that you can achieve something and then you keep working at it, at some point, even if you don't reach that goal, you're going to reach something higher than you would have if you had to stop. So I think that's just something that I wanted to share. And, I've been blessed to be able to work with professional athletes in the NFL, Major League Baseball,
Wow.
a lot of college athletes. And it's been great because that's one thing when I walk in the room, I know that young man or young lady is just like me in a sense.
Yeah.
And many times we kind of put athletes on a pedestal or you expect so much of them, and they're just people. And many times there are great athletes, but they are people who have to live their lives in front of a camera all the time, and we want them to be
Mhm.
perfect all the time, but they're human just like us. So, I think we need to show them grace because they're dealing with so much, from trying to stay healthy to trying to keep their job to trying to feed a family, not only maybe their family, but their extended family. So
Right.
I think one maybe superpower that I have is that I'm able to relate with athletes, because many times, doesn't matter if you're at a HBCU or a primary majority institution, when you walk in that locker room, the athletes, for the most part, are going to look just like us.
Right. Yep.
Right.
Yep. And
And I wanted
I,
I
go ahead,
wanted
man.
to ask about your podcast. I waited went so quickly.
Go back.
Um
Go back.
I listened to a couple episodes earlier, and I love
That
whoever did your theme music. That was fun. But you got started about a year after we started in June of 2020. It looks like you started in June of 2020,
One, yes.
2021, and you said you were giving health tips on the pandemic, and you were doing Facebook lives, and then you said, I now want to go ahead and help with this. And oh gosh, I wrote down there was something you said about the intersection between, I
Life,
think,
sports, and medicine. Yes.
yes, life, sports, and medicine. So what encouraged you to do your timeout with the sports doctor? Because I love the concept of that.
So I guess what encouraged me, my wife, number one, she's been on my back about writing a book and really
Ah.
telling my story. And I kind of
Mhm.
shied away from the book. And then
Okay.
in late 2020, I believe, I was thinking about podcasting and starting to look into it a little bit. And one of my close friends sent me this competition, and I was like, okay, let me just try it. So my daughter and I, we get together, and she shoots this 1 minute video, a trailer. I didn't even know what a trailer was at that time, and they were asking for all these references and shows of that, the work that you've done in the past. I was like, I don't have anything, but let me submit it. So I came up with this theme, submitted it, and I made it as a finalist. And I was like, I might be on to something. So at that
Yay.
point, I really started to look more closely into it, and I linked up with another physician that was in this space, and he coached me through. And he had a 10-week course to launch your podcast, and in week 9, I launched. I was like, "Hey, it's time." I wanted to launch on Father's Day, so I did it. Not ready,
Yeah.
but I launched. So,
And Val,
yeah.
and he's being nice about it because the one he did, which I call like kind of dental floss, was that it was during the time that the COVID was early COVID,
Oh yeah.
and
Mhm.
everybody had something to say, and it was kind of like the episode we just spoke last week, Val. Remember we talked about Magic Johnson HIV when no one
Mhm.
really knew about it and didn't want to play basketball with him, but they just was in the friggin' Olympics with him, right? So as Dr. Derek put out there with the COVID. I mean, this was awesome because he's down there at MI, crooked letter I, Mississippi, right?
You
And he
already
pulled
know.
doctors together. I was amazed sitting in that room of the doctors that was talking about this pandemic, Val, that was hitting not only the United States, that was hitting the world, and
Yeah.
to learn more about it. And it made me at that point, I think the week after I listened to his show was when I went
Mhm.
on and got my vaccination, did everything I had to do. And I was going to have to get them
Mhm.
anyway because I was a college coach. But it was really fascinating. And then to
Yeah.
see from that episode now where he's moved on with sports talk, the doctors was amazing.
Yeah, and I asked the chat to put in some questions for you, Doc, if you wouldn't mind asking.
Sure,
This came
absolutely.
from Mark. What advice would you give to young folks thinking about going into medicine, particularly sports medicine?
So I would say go for it. But what you need to do is make sure that you are academically sound. You need to make sure math and science courses are going to be very important for you. One thing that you definitely need to do is seek out a mentor. You need to
Mhm.
find somebody in this space. Now, sports medicine is a huge umbrella. So I'm an
Yeah,
orthopedic surgeon, but you
right.
don't have to be an orthopedic surgeon. You can even, if you want to be a doctor, you can be a primary care doctor. You can be a pediatrician and still do sports medicine. So you need to figure out, what does sports medicine mean for you? Do you want to go to medical school? Do you want to be a therapist? Do you want to train people? Do you want to be someone who is able to start their own business? So
Right.
think about, what does sports medicine mean for you? Because you can't just go. I was in that same seat. I thought, hey, let me go to undergraduate and major in sports medicine, but that did not put me on the trajectory to where I wanted to go, which was to medical school. So
Mhm.
make sure you find yourself a mentor. I would say would be the most important step, and express your interest, shadow, job shadow, come hang out with someone, hang out in the gym with a trainer, stand on the sideline with a physician or a trainer, or athletic trainer. And that's how you'll really figure out if it's for you or not.
Yeah,
And
and Val,
also,
I tell you,
Mr. Springer had a question. When did you realize, Doc, that you wanted to study sports medicine and become an orthopedic surgeon?
So I had an injury when I was in high school, my junior year in high school. I
Oh,
chipped a small bone in my elbow,
okay.
and it forced me to see an orthopedic surgeon. But for me, that allowed me to find a mentor. So I expressed interest in medicine, and he welcomed me to come back. And I started going in during my senior year in high school, after practice, falling asleep in his office, coming back during undergraduate, during the breaks. He allowed me to come in and see patients with him, go to surgery. And I was fortunate enough to get accepted into medical school. Most people go to medical school not really knowing what they want to specialize in. I was one
Right.
of the very fortunate people who kind of had a dream and it all manifested.
Wow. I'm sorry, Coach, you were going to say something.
no, no, no. I was going to say it was great conversating with him over the holidays, and we just came off
Oh,
our family reunion, and he was talking about. He said, something that I think a lot of people need to understand. He was saying that he really didn't understand or even know how to study until he got to that next level. You think that you know how to study in high school. You
Oh yeah.
think you know how to study, you go to college. And then when you put in that pressure situation, whether it's master's degree, PhD, law degree, medical degree, you got to figure out that extra way of studying to make sure that
mhm.
you become the best of the best. Because we already know when you go to postgraduate, the what they want to do is weed you out, right? They
Mhm.
want to
Yeah.
get you out, and they want to keep just the strong people in there. So to hear him say, I didn't know how to study, and I had to learn, or a way to study once I got to this level. This is amazing.
Yeah. So I really want to thank you guys. I thank you for joining us on today. I love your podcast. I think it's a great
Thank you.
concept, and your audio sounds wonderful. But I'm a techie person, so that's just me. But it's I mentioned family earlier in the episode, and it's great that, Coach, you brought your family. Who are you, the first doctor in your family?
I am the first
Yes.
doctor in my family. Yeah.
Oh,
And
And it's,
Tony
and
is
it's one.
Tony is my fake uncle, so he grew up
ouch.
coming
Right,
down,
right, right.
every summer, hanging out and trying to corrupt us every summer. But he was someone that we always looked up to. So my brother, myself, a lot of our younger cousins, we looked up to Tony. He was already in college, so that was a given. In my household, it was never a question of whether or not you were going to college, because that platform had already been proven. So education was always important, and Tony strived, and he went and pledged. So it wasn't a question when we got to college. what you had to do. So he raised the bar, and I'm trying to raise the bar, and I hope that people will follow behind me and do the same.
Yeah, we got a pretty big family, Val, and my aunt, my Dorothy, she got on me, as my cousin said early on, and was like, you got to make a pledge to me coming out of high school because, at that point I'm in Chicago, there in Alabama where my family at. So you're going here, and I think, Derek mentioned earlier about the doubters. Val, when you started, interludes, right? You had doubters. You had people like, oh, come on, Val, you got to be joking. And then all of a sudden, we 200 episodes later, rolling right now, things are picking up. So and when she said, you got to be the one who set the stage because the younger cousins and the younger nephews and nieces are coming on, then I knew I had a heavy shoulder. It was great to see Derek and his brother Thomas is there, out in the East Coast area as well. His family doing something. So it's awesome, and we're doing a lot of big things. A lot of my male guys, a lot of my younger male cousins in the family are doing some big things, man. So he's not the last one on the show. We're going to get some more here.
Oh my gosh. Well, Doc, thank you so much for joining us. And I want to go ahead and let you guys know that if you want more information about Time Out with the Sports Doctor, go ahead and please visit the website. Thank you, Mr. Springer, for putting it in the chat. Ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Derek Burgers, thank you so
Hey,
much for
Val.
joining us.
Hey, thank you for
Hey,
having me.
Val,
Thank
Yay!
you for having me.
I'm gonna leave him with one note. He said a minute ago, Jackson State's motto is "I believe."
I
I'm gonna
believe.
tell him now. In 2 weeks, I believe these Tennessee State
Ah,
University.
man, come on.
We gonna be on there with their aristocratic bands, right?
Y'all
We
will
don't
be
come
on
watch football.
ESPN. You will be on ESPN, but you won't
Don't
be
go
winning that.
ESPN. Val, they don't come play football. It's the battle of the halftime show. It's the battle of the bands, baby.
It might be
That's
over
gonna
by halftime. You're right. You're absolutely
Yeah,
right
but
about
that's gonna be a fun game. I wish I
that.
could be there for that. Doc, thank you so much for joining us on tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Oh my
Yo,
gosh.
appreciate it, Doc. Yo,
All right. Yo.
tell you,
You always
pal.
you always bring good people through here, man. It's ridiculous. I'm totally excited about just his journey and just listening to his journey and his podcast has been a treat. Thank you so much. The doc. The doc.
Wow.
He's
I
a
mean,
doc.
Val, I mean, you said it. Funny part about this, the things you talked about earlier, just on, where we come from and where we're going.
Mhm.
We don't get guys like him, right? If those
Mhm.
Black Wall Street, would happen, we've had more of him. But now we still got young guys that are trying to make it back. And I like what he said. He's just a normal person. He's seeing these athletes that you and I are talking about. He's seeing the Noah Williams, right? He's seeing these
Mhm.
guys in his office every day. And
Right.
so I appreciate you guys having him on. And, again, tune in. Heritage Classic, September 8th, going to be down in Memphis, Tennessee, 8 p.m. Jackson State University, Tennessee State University. I got we both the Tigers, but I got them Tennessee State boys by a touchdown, baby.
Oh
And for
my
promotional purposes only, Val.
Yes, exactly, exactly. And you know what? I'm gonna say this and very quickly. I think right now the Chicago Sky is playing against the New York Liberty, and
What's
they squeezed out a win this past weekend. Who do you think is gonna win today? We're rooting for the Sky, right?
Oh yeah, come on now. I can't do that. They'll kick me out the South Side. But yeah, I got to get Candace. Them, I think they went into the game on real quick. I think they went into game one overzealous, thinking they were going to blow the Liberty out. And I know
Mhm.
the Liberty has not beaten the Sky all year, and I think they just came to play. And
Okay.
it's a win to go home tonight, right? I know if fans are butt, they got to win tonight. They should be at halftime right now and looking forward to these girls moving on. I got them, like I said, I got the Sky in the Las Vegas Aces in the championship game, so I got to keep riding with them.
Well, we're rooting for them number one because we just think that they'll be great to go ahead and defend their title because they're defending their title from 20 earlier this year of earlier for winning the WNBA championship. But Mr. Wamble, I believe will be back next week, but we'll see if he's in tomorrow because usually We have Wamble Wednesdays.
On Wednesday.
And that's live every Wednesday. Now, the time last week it was me. I didn't come on until a little bit after 8 o'clock. But Wamble, Mr. Wamble will be back, and we'll be presenting my current podcast, and we want to go ahead and let you all know about our wonderful clean comedy show. You can get on demand tickets, and that is available. Myself, Mr. Wamble, Jury O'Neill, and Donald Owens Jr. We're doing our thing, doing clean comedy, and you guys will get a good laugh. Interludes is streaming every Wednesday on our YouTube channel, and congratulations, we just hit. This has been a couple of weeks ago, Coach. We hit
Yeah.
100 episodes, and we're excited about that. Thank you so very much. Our audio podcast tomorrow will be well, I'll be asking, and since we're talking about August being Black Business Month, I'll be talking to a businessman, a motivational speaker, and business professor, Sherrod Ledet. He has a passion for teaching leadership in business and life on the professional side. And he's also the part of the Interludes family. So I'm excited about that. He's a fan. Thank you so much, Sherrod, for supporting us, and we appreciate it. And then go ahead, and if you'd like to be a sponsor on our platform, book time with us at linktr.ee/pure light media. Coach, thank you
Hey,
so
I tell you,
very much, man.
and our Chicago Sky Beloved girls is up by 14 in the third quarter, girls. Keep pushing.
Ooh, that's what's up. That's what's up. I'm excited. Oh my goodness. Thank you so much, Mr. Springer, Mark, Bruce, everyone that joined us, and also the doc for
Thank
joining
the
us.
fans. Thank you,
Thank the
Doc.
fans. And thank you so very much for joining us. We'll be back next week.
Hey, I'm not Val the Voice, but I'm Coach Tony.
And we'll see everyone next Tuesday. We got to go. Peace.